What up? Just give it 2 more minutes here. Hit 9 exactly, and then I'll kick it off.
Hey, man.
You there? You can hear me? Okay.
I've got you. How are you?
Good. Perfect. Yeah. Give it a couple minutes here, and then we'll hop right in.
Easy done, man. What's happening?
Nothing much. Nothing yet. What up? It is 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bienvenidos and welcome to the Talking About Life podcast, where tonight we have a guest with us at Brumby Wild on Twitter. Very excited to find out about what they want to speak to us about. Now, if you're new to the show, we like to talk about people's passions here, positivity, anything that really brings the light to your eyes and the magic dancing through your soul. So if you want to start to tell people what you're about here, I'll just give a quick overview, just what kind of is on your Twitter bio, family above all, ex super sport racer, mental health advocate, battler, and survivor, and also someone who's in the VF or V Friends community, which is the Gary V NFT project. If you don't know Gary V, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know him, you probably should. But how are you doing tonight? What's going on?
This afternoon, man. Thank you for the week early plug from your last podcast. Your podcast, sorry. Um, yeah, 1 o'clock over here, man. So it's middle of the day. Just taking a nice, easy break.
You're in Australia, right?
Australia, man. Yeah, down in Melbourne, a couple of hours north of Melbourne.
And over there, it's Thursday already, correct? It's Thursday in the afternoon while it's 9 o'clock at night over here. Like the sun's out over there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're
Awesome.
finally hopefully having a weather change towards our summer. It's been freezing cold for the last 5 months.
Yeah. So it's starting to be summer over there for you.
Yeah, one week we start summer. Although we really haven't had spring yet. We've had nothing but
Damn,
floods,
that's awesome, dude.
floods and rains and everything happening the last 3 months.
Floods and rain sounds not fun, but I'm in New York. We're just heading into the
Your winter.
thick or the beginning of winter here. So to hear you say that you're starting summer, I got a summer birthday. I'm a summer baby. I'm a summer lover. It's my favorite season, maybe spring, but I like the warmer weather. So I'm definitely a little jelly here. But happy for you. Happy for you that you are gonna get to experience summer so close to right now.
Hopefully, man. My body doesn't do too well in the cold, so I don't know why we moved down further to the bloody South Pole instead of heading north to summer weather and all year round beautiful weather on the equator. But that's life.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything's inverse, right? On the other side of the world kind of thing.
100%, my man. 100%. Hey, want to give you a big shout out for all that you guys have been, especially you, what you've been doing with the V Friends community since even since I've taken over, since I've come in only a few months now, and it's incredible. Big props for what you do.
In regard to what specifically?
Everything, man. The animations that you do on the V Minders is second to none. I love it. Absolutely love it. You can
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I give you big props on that. I love it.
Yeah, that's a pleasure of mine. It's just something I noticed I was able to do that seemed to bring joy to people and, bring positivity, light, and happiness. So I'm enthusiastic about engaging in anything that's that low barrier to entry. Just something, maybe not everybody's good at photo editing, but for me it's not something that I feel really is burdensome. And yeah, I'm happy to do it.
That's good, man. We appreciate it. We do.
100%. Now, I'm curious here. If you have things you want to talk about, we could definitely go in whatever direction you want to go into. But my
Um,
first question, what definitely catches my interest is,
mhm.
that you are an ex super sport racer. Like I'm not, necessarily like a NASCAR fan. I'm not a fanatic particularly of anything much like besides, I don't know, like V Friends, I guess. Right. But, and like a couple little things. But my thing is, I have so many interests. It's hard to say I'm a fanatic of any one thing. But one of my many interests, I do love like sports cars, watching people race. Just kind of the thrill of like being in a car, driving really fast. This is obviously nothing compared to what you've lived through, but I I did go kart racing once, and I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, why don't you tell me about your experience?
Yeah, definitely, man. Mine with our ex super sport. I mean, I don't know how the Americans run their lingo to how they do it over here in Australia. Ex super sport means I used to race 600cc category motorcycles, road bikes on circuits, um, and I guess bikes started for me late. Unlike a lot of guys and girls I used to race against. Grown up around bikes and stuff, I didn't get introduced and really kick a passion until about 1920 with an ex-partner. Her old man raced and still does.
Wait, and you're saying for the industry that's late to start?
Oh, absolutely. If you're coming in at 19, you've got either a lot of catching up to do,
When do
or
people usually start? I mean, you can only start driving at like what, 16, right? Or
yeah, legally. Like we've got our boys, Eli and Jesse. Eli 11, Jesse's 5. Both of them are just naturally gifted with anything with wheels. I'm assuming, well, I'm hoping it's bloodline thing that they've picked that up somewhere along the line from me. Um, but
got a little motor oil in the blood?
a little bit, man. Little Jesse, he's 5 now. He's been riding the little 3-wheel plastic trike bike thing since he was 1 years old, sliding it up and down the kitchen and the living room tiles. Stuff like that. So around about 2 to 4 year old is a lot of the guys and girls that I race with, their kids, they started off when they're about 3, 4, 5 year old. So by the time they hit their 20s, or by the time
Wait,
they
you
hit their
said
teens,
3, 4, or 5 years old?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And what are
riding
they what are
motorbikes.
they driving at that age?
The little 50 cc's, or in my case, my young fellow, we've got him at a little electric dirt bike,
So
and
I'm assuming so there's like a whole product line and industry for that because my parents didn't buy me one of those. I don't think so. Not that I recall.
Yeah, man. My parents didn't have the money back in the day, and we grew up in a single mother income pension family. So uh, if I wanted something, I went out and got it. Even at 8 years old, if I wanted something, man, I'd go and pick weeds or go and garden for someone for $2 just to buy a pack of basketball cards back in the 90s. That's life.
Yeah, I mean it's beautiful to be able to provide more. Yeah, I think at one point when I was like in middle school, my mom like came home one Christmas with a go kart, but we didn't live anywhere where like you could drive it really. And I was like, well, sort of like, thanks. What the hell do I fucking do with this thing? And I think we respectfully ended up exchanging that out for something else. But if there was somewhere, if we were, we live in a suburb. If we lived somewhere like rural where maybe there was like some, I don't know, side roads or something, or, service road, something like that. I don't know, somewhere to drive it. But in a suburb, it's like, it's dangerous.
Oh, look, man, like we're in fair. I mean, Australia is massive. It's essentially what, one or same size as Texas, or double size of Texas, or something like that. So we got vast. I mean, you go from one national city to the next, and you're going anywhere from 1,000 kilometers to 5,000. We're a vast land over here, unless you live in the city, obviously. But then you've got more tracks. You've got racetracks near you. You've got facilities set up, go kart tracks, for example, like here. a couple of guys that I used to race with have now started a full junior series for, I think it's open to 9-year-olds plus, racing little mini bikes and go-kart circuits and bringing that into the national series. So
all right. So if you're
it's
in the
huge, man.
industry, if you're growing up with it, you get started as early as 3, 4, 5 with lower CC, engines, and then you work your way up. You could go through 9. Obviously older. But so now I'm getting the picture here, because to 19, to me, I'm thinking, oh, you get your permit, what, 15 or something. You lose a few years, but yeah, if you're starting on, you know bikes or cars or vehicles that are constructed for this purpose for younger people, it's obviously something I didn't know about the industry. Then it makes sense. You're coming in at 19, you're late to the game. So yeah, going from there.
Oh, 100%, man. Like I didn't get started into the racing scene until I was 30. So essentially a long time. I mean, hundreds and thousands of kilometers under my ass on a motorbike on the road, but not actually on the racetrack. And I just so happened I went and done a track day in 2013. Met a fellow racer, who's having a conversation with me. Have you gone into doing track days and racing and stuff like that? And I said, oh, yeah, I haven't thought about racing. And he goes, well, I raced a full series last year, done all right, and you're beating me around the track. I think you should come racing. And that was it. That was, the end of the story on that one. We jumped straight into racing in 2014 and learnt very quickly.
So you just had a buddy that was into racing, asked you to come along. You were adventurous. You said yes, and you fell in love with it.
Loved it, man. Like I've done skydiving, jumping out of planes, gone snorkeling, deep sea diving, stuff like that. A lot of adrenaline stuff. Nothing comes close in my perspective of once you roll out of the pits at a racetrack, helmets on, visors down, everything, the noise, everything shuts off. Now, I know that you've spoken of, I've listened to every one of your podcasts, and a lot of people can say the same. Everyone has their own little niche and their own little thing where, for some it might be go down the pub on a Friday night drinking with the boys or the girls or whatever, and that's their shutout. Everyone needs that. And for me, it starts at 250 kilometers an hour. It's as stupid as it sounds.
That's like your flow state. That's like your meditation sweet spot.
That is, man. Like it's the only time when my brain is not active is the easiest way. It's a stupid way of saying it, because when you're doing that speed, your brain is constantly going, but it's only focused on the next 3, 4, 5 corners. The other person that's sitting literally on top of you with their bike and 250 kilograms of weight on top of you at 250 through a corner. You have no time to think about anything else. I think that's what it is, and I enjoy it. It's
right. So it's not that you're, like you said, not thinking, so to speak, right? But that there's no stray threads of thought, no runaway trains of thought. Every single part of your mind is fully compensated and engaged by the environment and situation. So there's an equilibrium, so to speak, I would think.
100%, brother. It's exactly that. You get a lot of people that refer the idea of meditation and a little bit more touching on the whole mental health advocate and stuff, and the traumas and shit that I've gone through in life, and then seeing professional help, so going psychologist, psychiatrist, and this person, that person, and have you tried meditation? Have you tried this? To me, racing is my meditation. It is my chance to switch off, and with a failing body, it's becoming less and less, but we still do it.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, if you want to segue there, I did see the pictures you were posting, X-rays of. I mean, I hate to say it, but it looks like a shattered spine. And if that's what it is, obviously, I'm so sorry. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can touch on it, man, because it's that's been life for 4.5 years, and it's not defined who I'm becoming, but it's helping shape who I want to be. Is the nicest way that I can put it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so I used to work in probably this is funny doing this. It's more than likely going to get dragged up in a couple of years' time, but anyway, let's do it. It's I used to work in the coal industry and was subjected to as you've seen, nasty spine injury, resulting in a lot of nerve damage to my disc, And as a result, had a few months off, stupidly under the wrong medical advice, was told to go back to work. There's nothing wrong with you, so to speak, which only exuberated the injury after 8 weeks. And lo and behold, after all that and the extra additional stresses and injuries, I had to undergo surgery the injury was 2018, and had to undergo surgery in 2019 to remove two of the discs, fuse one and put an artificial disc in the other one, which in essence was a success in the regards that we got rid of the damaged disc. I'm still mobile, can still walk, can still do a lot of things. But was bluntly told by the surgeon, because of the severe nature of the incident, you're never not going to be in pain. There's going to be always issues, and you're always going to be getting worse. So it's been rebuilding for the last 3 years, essentially, and that's that in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, now I'm incredibly sorry to hear that. To clarify, so what is the timeline on that? When this happened, where was this in relation to racing? Yeah, when I saw the pictures, I would have thought, oh, I wonder if this was racing related. So I'm like almost surprised to, or I am, yeah, I'm surprised to hear that it's not. Yeah, when was this? And like, did you stop racing? Were you racing at this time while you had this other job? Yeah, what was the timeline?
Yeah, no. So I started racing, as I said, back in 2014. We took a bit of a sabbatical in 2015, just to do the adult thing. We had accumulated, put it nicely, myself and my wife, I had accumulated a lot of debt prior to us being together. So knuckled down when we were earning good money, and 2015 we just paid off essentially about $50,000 worth of debt in 1 year. Gave up the racing. 16 was sort of the same, which sort of 16 was a hard year. We lost my mother at 61 through to undiagnosed celiac, which that's just
Sorry for your loss.
No, that's cool, man. Like it's shit to sort of look back on it and go, she was in a lot of pain. She was in a lot of pain for a long time, and 61's not good, but I'd much rather her go at 61 than live another 30 years like she was. It was just horrid watching her every day. And so, 2016 was hard, man.
Yeah,
and
I'm sorry you had to live through that.
I appreciate that, man. I really do, man. It's we all go through it, eh? We've all got to, whether it's when we're 10, 20, 30, 40, 80, sometimes, if we're lucky enough to see our parents live that long, it's changes you. And it changes a lot of things around you as well when you lose your best friend.
Yeah, 100%. And, I'm lucky to have my parents, but a lot of people close to me don't. And I definitely see that reality of people realizing there's an additional weight on them, or they feel they have an additional responsibility. It could be daunting. It could be, terrifying. It could be a lot of pressure. So I definitely, even though I haven't been in that situation, I feel emotion, and my heart goes out for that situation. So, I know we all have our challenges in life, but that's no reason not to stop and still feel for each other. So I feel for you.
I appreciate that, man. And you're 100% right. It's going through that, as stupid as it sounds, we've had a big family fallout and breakup because of it. Just little things that you sort of sit back and go, why? Why does it all have to fall apart the way that it does? That's just life. Take the positives and learn is the easiest way that I can help people understand that sort of scenario. Is that it's yesterday. Try to use the positives out of it, if there are any, and know that it doesn't have to destroy every other day ahead. So after that sort of scenario happened in mid 2016, we, essentially, I hadn't been on the track in a year, nearly 2 years, essentially. I was desperate to get back out there. So we raced in the last round of 2016, and then just in a club series, which is just a little thing, 6 rounds local. 2017, we upgraded, changed bikes, something a bit more competitive. and really went all ass in on it, essentially. One of those things. Let's go and spend a hell of a lot of money racing for a $4 trophy. Stupid as it sounds, but we did that. We
So
done
the
our.
racing then the racing was not like the racing was a hobby. It wasn't profitable. Like it wasn't something
Oh
that,
no,
that was like
definitely not.
sponsored or like there was no prize money for the championship, so to speak.
Yes, yes. Overall, there is for the top 10 finishers, different categories. In our club and our state series, our national series that we ran in 2017, I think there was a $10,000 prize pool for the overall finisher in the superbike class. Then there's super sport in the 600s that I was in, which was $2,000 prize pool, and then filtering down to every class, there was little bits and pieces. But no, the old saying in motorbike racing, if you want to become a millionaire as a motorbike racer, start as a billionaire.
Yeah, so it's an expensive hobby.
Very much so. I think we tore through around about $48,000 roughly in 2017 alone, including the bike, which was only $10,000 Australian.
Now, were you said it was different periods that you were working in the mine? You said you were working in the coal mine. You were doing it at the same time, or it was different periods? Sorry, I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, so I got into the mining industry back in 2009 until the injury
Oh,
in
so this was
2000.
before. You said you. Sorry, what was 2014? 2014. You said you stopped racing or started racing?
Started
Sorry,
racing.
up with the years.
Stopped in 2015 and then most of 16 as well, just to do the life thing and set up our other investments and stuff, and full national series and club series in 2017, and then the injury occurred. I've put some pictures up there on the injury that happened. That was 2018 while at work.
Okay, so you had the job 2009. You were racing in the 2000 teens, and this happened after. So you had the job the whole time.
100%, man. Yeah.
Got it. And when you were in that period before the injury, like, did you have the consideration, like, did you have the awareness or consciousness, like, oh, the most dangerous part of my life is working in this mine? Or would you have thought like the racing was more dangerous? Like, I'm looking at some of the, I don't know what people are picturing. I'm literally looking at some of these pictures here, and you're like at like a 90-degree angle with the ground, or 180 degrees, or however you describe it. You're literally like kissing the pavement with like your knees here. Like, that looks dangerous to me. But I know mining's dangerous, like, logically. It's just when you look at them, like, I'm looking at these pictures, you look inches from, like, like certain doom, not to like say it negatively, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh my God, that looks wild. And then the mining thing, it's like, yes, something could happen, but it doesn't almost look as immediate. What was your perception of it? Like, did you feel one was more dangerous than the other?
Oh, definitely the motorbike racing. The coal industry was open cut, driving essentially a three-story building around on six tires is what you're driving around. A truck that weighs 260, 280 ton carries anywhere up to around about 400 ton worth of weight in an open cut mine. It's essentially there's a lot of musculoskeletal and spinal injuries, that sort of whiplash injuries that always occur in that sort of industry. But yes, when you want to run statistics and numbers, racing a motorbike should be what takes me, not going to work to provide for a family.
Yeah, I think that's one of the like you expect life to go one way, and then there's probabilities and then statistics. And I had the same thought. I wanted to verify with you that I'm seeing it the correct way, that you would think this is the dangerous thing, and that's not where the danger got you. So it's like, yeah, you never know what's gonna happen. But I think what I'm hearing is you do have a positive approach. What and as much as you want to go into it or not, but what if you had to give people advice, or if anybody's listening, right, and they're like, oh my God, like, I could never deal with that, and you're thinking like, well, you have to find a way, and this is how I do, or how I did. What advice like would you give?
That's a good question, man. That is something that even now I'm still asking myself, and I'm definitely not through it. There's no two ways about that. I've been as dark as it can possibly be on the grips of suicide, and I was always one of these people that went through that stupid mindset of, and I guess it's just been ignorant and arrogant at the same time to people that commit suicide and go through the harshness of what really does go through your head when you're in chronic pain and you're suffering, you're on medication, just your whole life gets flipped upside down, and then all of a sudden, as someone looking out from the outside, I would say like, but there's still positives, and then you go through it and you go, but are those positives better without me? And that could be your wife, that could be your mum and dad, your kids, siblings, whatever you've got around you, and I've learnt to listen more, and take in a lot more of people's pain and hurt because I've been there. I'm living it, and I understand to such a deep value that it's not bloody easy. You do go to a hell of a lot of dark places, and people that haven't got someone behind them that have, whether it's other people that have pulled the plug and walked away because you've become too much, which I understand because I know that I have been, to put it bluntly, an arsehole at times in the last 4 years since the injury. It's not because I want to be, it's because I'm hurting. And there's a lot out there, man, that they're going through a lot. And, coming across the VeeFriends, and I'll quickly sidecast onto good old Gary Vee for a second. It was, I'm not a religious person. I'm not essentially a spiritual person, but I do believe that, as something comes into your life when it's meant to happen, And the first Gary Vee podcast that I listened to ever, and I know this is going to sound terrible for it because I'm so late in the game with him, was the podcast back on the 20th of April from this year with Alexis Cisnero. And that was the very first podcast of Gary's that I've ever listened to. And, to listen to Alexis be so open and so raw with everything that was going on. And
Who
Gary
is that?
in that. Alexis Cisnero.
Yeah, but who contextually is that?
What do you mean, sir?
I don't know. Is that like an actor? Is that like
Oh, no. This is just someone that Gary had on, Gary Vee had on for his podcast. So when you get a spare moment, have a listen to it. And it's
yeah, I'll have to Google it.
And Gary put a good reference in there of going, you're not weak, you're not pathetic. You're hurting. You've been hurt. You're traumatized, and that just resonated so much, man. And since then, it was just, man, I've listened to, I've watched every bit of content pretty well. 90% of it since then have become part of the VeeFriends community and found a home is the easiest way to put it. And you and everyone else involved, man, on the VeeFriends journey, you have done a lot more for me than what you know.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. What I can say is I could relate to your emotions. I may not be able to relate, or I can't relate. I've never had a life-changing injury of that scale. What I can relate to is being in dark places and having dark emotions. For different reasons, my parents were divorced since I was a young age, and just a series of what I would call perhaps, to kind of cliche the book title, but a series of unfortunate events kind of happened since then in my life. And I definitely have had times in my life where I had that same feeling of, I had gone through like drugs and self-harm and suicidal, all these sorts of things. And there was years, across where these things were still unresolved. And there's parts of it, like you said, where I'm still dealing with it today. Though I am in a more positive place today. And I can just relate to that feeling of like, wow, I'm such a fuck up, that anything I do is better without me. Anything I touch will be broken by me touching it. Anything that I'm involved with will fall apart because I was there. And people who become close to me will end up having worse lives and will become damaged and hurt because I existed and because they were near to me. I don't think those are positive thoughts. I don't think you should spend, like I think you should avoid spending a lot of time thinking those thoughts if you're feeling it. At the same time, if you're feeling it, I think you got to either write it, speak it, give it a voice, get it out, go to therapy, that kind of thing. And then find other people that relate, right? Because if you didn't say that, I might not or I almost definitely wouldn't have brought this up as the next thing I'm saying, because I'm responding to you, so I wouldn't have known that this is an okay area to maybe wander into, and there could be listeners. So my response would be, as much as you feel that way, and I think you have to give credence and value to what you are feeling. I think you have to express it. I think you have to be real with it. In a very silly, selfish way. If you didn't exist, who would I be interviewing right now? Um, and that's just one small thing, right? But I think no matter what you feel, your lack of value is, or the negatives that you cause, I think there's always a chance for improvement. I think there's always a road to recovery. And I think something that logically, there's no way to know or not. So you have to leave it as this open possibility, is that the future holds some sort of life changing moment that recontextualizes whatever suffering you had gone through up until that point and transforms you into a person where you're able to use that suffering as fuel to achieve something greater or help something else or do something better. And then look at it through this lens of, maybe you don't wish it happened, maybe you're not happy it happened, but you have this understanding of, that it did happen, and that because it did, something beautiful was able to happen, and that you find acceptance with that. So, hopefully that helps. Um, but I would also say, and you don't have to, whatever you do or don't want to say, but I would say, if you haven't gone, to therapy or anything like that, I would definitely say, give that a shot, because it's something I've gone throughout various stages in my life. Do you want to comment on that? Prefer not to.
Yeah, no, no, man. I'm happy to weigh on here, and look, everything you have just said is 100% spot on. Um, and I'll be the first to admit, and openly happy to admit it as well, because I lived for, I come out of the surgery going, okay, I know I'm going to be in pain. There may be a little bit. I definitely underestimated how bad it would be. They had me drugged up on 20, 30 pills a day for weeks on, months on end when I come out of surgery. But I come out of it feeling a lot better until about 5 or 6 weeks post surgery. Then it all sort of just fell to shit. Like, everything. Yes, I had stability back in the spine, but everything was still there. The burning, the numbness, the tingling, the sciatic pains, everything was all there. Spoke with the surgeon. He's like, I said this to you before you went into surgery. This is not the goal to stop that. It would be nice, but you've got 2 to 3 years, and where you're at then is really how life is going to look, which is give or take around now. Um, so that in your own head is you've just got to come to accept it. That's exactly what it is. The old thing, there's always someone worse than you. I do like that principle in retrospect, but it also can make people sort of sit back and go, well, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. It does matter, because the more that you sort of do push that aside, you bottle it up. You bottle. It is going to explode, and one day it's just going to be too much to handle. Handle the stuff as it happens. Deal with it the best way you can possibly can. As you said, seek advice. I see a psychiatrist and a psychologist. My psychologist, she's gone through a lot of exactly the same trauma, work injury, workers' compensation stuff, legal battles, all the same sort of stuff. So she can 100% relate. And then my psychiatrist has lived a nice, fruitful life without any real trauma, apart from listening to everyone for 50 years. So he's relatable on life experience itself, apart from hearing it from someone else's perspective is not exactly there, but he's definitely helped and given tools, and he's very good at what he does. And I definitely recommend seeing that. I'm very self-conscious and very self-aware in everything that I've gone through, and I'm very analytic in life, which especially my psychiatrist, he doesn't like. He's, you're too good for your own sense in the sense of things. You know what's wrong. You know there are strategies and ways that you can fix, but you just need a hand, I guess.
Right. I guess that I'm in therapy too. Sometimes they'll tell me I'm overly cognitive.
Yep.
Too much in the
Get it,
brains.
man. Get it.
Yeah.
Look,
Too
who you?
too analysis paralysis is another term for it.
Yes. Hey, look, we spend more time in our own head with anyone else that we do in the whole world. Of course, we are our own best friend in that sense, but we can also be our own foe.
Wait, sorry. Say that again.
we are stuck in our own head more than in anyone
Oh
else,
yes.
and yeah, we can be our own best friend, our own foe at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, and the whole cast of characters in between.
100%, man. And it's yeah. So I mean, look, all that out aside is that, 12 months ago is the easiest way that I can say it. I was in a very dark place, and earlier this year, I've sort of taken a lot of heat and a lot of stock in it, and going, things need to be different. We need to make a change, and you got to start looking at the positive side of things, and there is a lot there.
Yeah, and one of the biggest ones, if I could wager, right, is being here for your children, right? I mean, I'm looking on here. You have kids, yes?
Yeah, man, two kids and a beautiful, beautiful wife, and
Yeah. So I
man, like,
mean, I would be thinking in your shoes, no matter how I feel, I'll forever need to be here, as a pillar, whatever, however broken you feel you are, I'm sure in their eyes, you're still a pillar of strength. So, hopefully you see it that way.
I do, man, 100%. Each and every day, and what those what my wife, again, unfortunately, she's seen and had to put through my kids. It's a funny thing that you learn what your kids really do take on. A lot of people look at their own kids and other kids and go, they don't see it, they don't notice it. Man, kids see everything. Kids learn everything, and the
I'm
sheer
looking at
amount
him. I'm looking at him on this bike here, and it says,
of
"Safe to say these new tires work really well." And has quotes from him. They are so fast and slide better, Dad. So I mean, he's definitely picking up, the racing, a
he's
little bit
picking
of
up
the,
everything, man.
you know, the need for speed here. But sorry, go on. I just saw this here. I was scrolling a little bit as I was talking to you, and
uh,
it kind of struck my heart and made me happy here. But keep going.
no, he's good, man. He's the sheer level of empathy and love and compassion that those boys have learnt. There is no way those kids would be anywhere as beautiful as they were if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, and bringing all the positives out of it. It's the easiest way to put it. They're going to become much better humans because they've learnt to be. They've needed to be. Is the easiest way to put it, really.
Yeah, and I like to think about it. You don't know what could have been worse. So,
Oh, 100%.
and again, I told you I've been in dark places mentally. So even if it's for different reasons, and I almost feel like, it's like sometimes I hear about other people's situations and I go, like I can't believe people deal with so many hard things. And I almost look at my own things and go, do I even have a right to get this upset over these things? Like I'm hearing what you are going through, and there's parts of that where I go, like, could I deal with that? Is that even harder? And then it's like, but then there's this aspect of like, oh, but there you are with your children. And some people, can't have children or, something like that. Or, sometimes there's worse reality. So it's just that matter of perspective where, yes, something that really challenging happened, but maybe there's something more challenging. Or maybe there's a universe out there. I don't know if you believe in like parallel universes, multiverse shit, like Marvel, whatever, but maybe there's a you out there that died, right? Like in the accident that you went through. And, you know, the people that needed you weren't there. Maybe other people died because you weren't there. Maybe I fucking died tonight. Maybe I was gonna do something else instead of talking to you, and I got distracted. I looked at my phone, and whap! I got hit by a fucking truck, bro. Maybe you saved my life by going through that accident. And people will say that and go, "Oh, you can't prove that." Well, you can't prove anything. You don't know, and I don't think it is ridiculous to have these hypotheticals because the truth is you don't know, and there are a million other possibilities. So I agree with you of kind of finding that way to look at it where you look back and go, maybe it had to be this way. And what are the benefits of it being this way? And how do I maximize it being this way? And, maybe there was some sort of universal cosmic karmic balance. Maybe you did something horrible in a past life. I don't know if you believe in reincarnation, but there's all these possibilities. I'm a super open-minded person. I know you said you're not like super religious or spiritual, but you're kind of open to the idea of maybe fate. But I don't know. Maybe it's one of those fated things, right? Maybe it's like, every person comes into life and there's certain lessons we all have to learn, or there's an opportunity to learn lessons, and there's like a best life where you take a positive perspective the whole time, and there's another version of your life where the same things were going to happen but they didn't go as well for you because you had a shitty perspective. So I respect the struggle you're going through, and I love hearing that it's your positivity is rooted in family, and your children, and realizing that in those people's eyes, you are their fucking hero.
Just spot on, man. I couldn't have said it better. You've got me on that one. No, you're right. Like we're building something. I'm trying to build something for my family that'll be everlasting. That'll be generational. And but the biggest thing is making sure that those two boys that I have are going to put something so positive back into the universe, and so positive back into the world and everyone around them, and teach them that. Like, man, I
I
talk
don't
to so
know,
many.
bro, but they look positive as fuck.
They are, dude. They really, really are. We have our struggles. Every person does. Every family does, and that's good. It's moments.
Now, another question. This is kind of going in a different direction here, but I've been dying to ask, trying to find the right time here. What the fuck is the Wild Brumby Retreat? Is that a real thing? Like, I googled
It is.
Brumbies. It looks like it's like small horses. Are you running like a small horse farm or something? Like, what is that about?
Okay, we get hit with this all the time. My last name is Brumby. That narrows it down to make it easy.
Okay, that helps.
That helps at a big
And you
time. Like,
yourself are a bit of a wild horse, so I get it. Okay, kind of tracking here. Go on.
yeah, so the Wild Brumby Retreat, we have a Airbnb property in here in Victoria, down near the Snow Mountains, and while it's a double entendre going Brumby, because the Brumby, essentially, as you said, is a wild horse. So you've got wild horse retreat, but it's tied in with the name. When I first started racing as a bit of a euphemism, it was Wild Brumby Racing. And so then when we started the Airbnb business, it was Wild Brumby Retreat. It's our retreat. It's our little home away from home for others. And yeah, that's what we just sort of landed on, man. It just ran with it.
Yeah, I like the name. How's the Airbnb business? Is that easy to get into, or what should people know about that?
Well, even this one's a little bit of a long-winded / short-winded. After my injury, we were able to pull all the money that I'd invested into super. At the old COVID crash that happened back in 2020, we lost, was it $8,000 got siphoned out of the out of the market in 24 hours. I watched it happen. The following morning, I rang up my superannuation company and said, lock everything down on term deposits, 3 years. I don't care if it makes no money. Let's just lock everything before I lose it. So, filled out the paperwork, sent it off to them. That was on the Tuesday morning. Someone in the company didn't bother processing that for 7 days. As opposed, I had it back to them on the desk within an hour. That 1 week cost me another $38,000.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, dude. So we lost a bit, nearly 50,000 in a week when the COVID crashed. I mean, it's money compared to everyone that was losing lives and the whole world turning on its head and turning to shit. That's just what it is.
I get it, man. I've had major financial losses, and yeah, there's other. Life is more serious, but when you're going through a major financial loss, it's fucking devastating.
Well, I didn't mind so much. I understood it because I'm very business minded and orientated.
Well, that's good. it can be devastating, but it's if it's not, that's even better.
Look, back in 2014, when I was working in a mine that coincidentally was the same mine where I ended up being injured at, in 2014, a matter of a month before Christmas, they sacked 90 of us and said, we're just trying to balance the books, essentially, is what they were trying to do for the quarter. And sacked 90 people, weeks before Christmas. 5 weeks after Christmas, they hired 160 people. Now, 99% of the people that I worked with had the shits. They didn't like it. They were, literally ringing up death threats and bomb threats to these people because right on Christmas, everyone's out in their ass. You're not going to get a job. You've gone from $100,000 to $150,000 a year income to the dole on a pension on welfare, and people are angry. And I'm sitting there going, well, I'm pissed off too, but it's business. It's some idiot justifying his job, and in 3 months we're all going to be back there anyway, if that. And lo and behold, I was right. But and the same thing when the COVID thing hit and we lost all this money because someone couldn't press a button, it was just the crunch time to go, right, get in there, let's pull all our money out of super, and let's not trust anyone to run my money for me. I can do it better. So we bought the Airbnb property outright, thankfully, because obviously buying that and then going through the COVID, we've had lockdown, we've had open, we've had lockdown. Through the COVID, when we bought the property and doing Airbnb, we counted a loss of somewhere around about 40,000 worth of cancelled bookings in 12 months. But we had no mortgage, so we had no stress. That was a good thing.
Yeah, it's a blessing not having a mortgage faced with that obstacle.
A little bit, and we're in the same scenario with all the floods that we've had in the last 2 months here. We virtually had no bookings, no stays, so no income on that side of things for 2 months. That's that would be my advice for anyone looking to do Airbnb: is don't go out and buy a $500,000 property with a $400,000 mortgage and have to be so heavily reliant on making sure that this thing's making you $50,000, $100,000 a year. It's not going to. There is going to be gaps. If you can't sort of take on the investment, and this is, I'm not a financial advisor and planner, but I'm definitely a strategic and going, don't bury yourself into things that you can't afford. And I think everyone will agree on that, is don't leverage what you can't afford. That's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. And I keep hearing people talk about now, especially with the current financial climate, that rarely or never people who, bet on margin or over leverage themselves, rarely do they win. And when they do win, rarely do they keep those wins. They'll probably leverage it again and lose everything or lose more or end up in debt. So I would agree with you 100%.
No, exactly right, man. Like, we've been looking at the property for the last 12 months going, we've got no mortgage. Do we refinance against it and then start buying another one or two? Then that would be mortgage to the hilt. That one will be, if we're quiet for 3 months or everything turns to shit again, we're too far leveraged. And it's really a matter of knowing, try to keep things positive cash flow, especially when you're talking real estate. We are heading to a crash. There's no two ways about it. I think especially here in Australia, our property is going to drop at least 30 to 40% in the next 3 years, while mortgage rates go through the roof. People have just got to be smart, man. Like, don't over leverage. That's the easiest way.
Are you do you have a decent mortgage rate locked in?
What was that? Sorry, Cassie?
For the Airbnb, like, you said you paid the mortgage on that, or no? Sorry, when you said you had no mortgage payment, you on the rental property either?
Yeah. So on our Airbnb property that we own,
you have neither your property where you have a residence and the Airbnb. You have not mortgage is paid off on both.
No. Our main residential, we have a mortgage on that. We bought that just in the period where I was back at work during the injury back in 2018, and we moved down south. But a very, very low end mortgage, a couple of $100,000, nothing stupid. Excuse me, that between my wife and our other little investment property pays our mortgage and keeps us rolling over with minimal risk. And then we've got a little unit that we bought for my eldest back in, 2012. Yeah, so he was one. We looked at, I love savings and trying to set my kids up for the future. And so I sort of looked at, doing compounding interest. We save him $50 a week when he's 18, blah, blah, blah. He'll have this amount. And then we've got a bit of money there, just money savings. Why don't we just buy him a unit that's going to be worth 5x what that $50 a week is going to be worth? And lo and behold, it has already. So we're looking to palm that off, get rid of that, and buy something a bit bigger.
So you're looking to trade out of the current property?
The one that we're living in, or
sorry, which did you said you want something bigger? Sorry, I might have mixed.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Like, yeah, it's even hard for me to keep track of it sometimes. So we've got three properties. The one that we live in, which is owner occupied, Airbnb, which is our investment Airbnb property, no mortgage, and then our little unit that we have that we bought for the son, what was it, 10, 11 years ago, 10 years ago. We're renovating that to sell, and then we'll use the equity that we've done that to buy a bigger property or two properties, split the profits into that one, and buy a property each for the kids.
Oh, you're gonna buy a property for your kids. Sorry. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So that's their sort of little nest egg to look
But
towards that.
they're young. No. Oh, so what are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna rent that out or?
Yeah. That's the plan, that we rent those out, and then yeah, they'll just take care of themselves, build a bit of equity for the portfolio for the boys, and it's a matter of trying to get to the next generation where I watch my mum struggle and try to provide just basics all of our lives. She's definitely taught me how to graft. She definitely taught me how to work for everything that I've got. But I know also stepping my kids is you can teach your kids how to do all that, how to be responsible, how to have this massive, awesome work ethic and drive for things. But if you can also give them just that little stepping stone, they'll get there a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, I think the more you save for yourself, the more profitable you are in life. Yeah, obviously, the more of a start you could give for your kids. Now, on that same note, some people feel if you give your kids too much, you'll spoil them. Do you ever fear that, or how do you keep the balance, or do you have those fears about spoiling your kids?
Oh, absolutely, man. Like my little fella, my wife with something the other day that sort of she pricked the ears up to me and said, this kid needs a bit of an attitude in life change. He broke a toy or something like that, and we'll just go and buy a new one. And my wife was like, no, that's not how life works. That's not how it's going to happen, mate. You're going to save, you're going to do your jobs, you're going to work for it. Then you may get it. Not, if something breaks and something's not working, we just go and buy a new one.
Right, or maybe try to fix it, right?
Well, there's that, obviously. But what he broke was
Depending what it
unfixable.
is.
But yeah. But it was just that immediate reaction from him at 5-year-old going, "Oh, it's broken. We'll just go get another one." Like, well, no, I think you're getting a little bit too comfortable with what mum and dad are buying you at 5 years old. So you've got to start learning a few new lessons. And
Now,
it's
do
good,
you think
It's
that happened from like, you bought something that had to be replaced and then, there was like an observation of that and then you always wonder, right? Like, or is it from the news or TV or someone at school? Like, how do these things where you're like, I didn't teach you that. Like, where do these come in from? Like, do you have that thought?
oh, 100%. I think it's a bit of both. Like, um, again, it's us as adults and parents having the hardest balance and say, I grew up with nothing. So anything we want to do, go and get it yourself, or you're not getting it, or generally you're just not going to get it. So you sort of, as you know, it's a balancing act of going, what's the right thing to do in the right circumstance, and also not letting them go through some of the harder things, which again, at the end of the day, were probably the best things that could have ever happened to us. So it is that catch-22. That's navigation of parenthood, though, isn't it?
I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'm not a parent yet, so.
We'll get it. We'll get it.
But yeah, I do hope to have kids. So I am planning to have a family and start a family. So as much as I'm asking you some of these questions for the listeners here, and I'm also asking selfishly,
That's
just
cool,
kind of
man.
thinking, what would I do and what will I do?
It's it's a juggling act, and it's the best parenting game of thinking on your feet.
Yeah,
There is no right or
I guess.
wrong.
Do you have any advice both for the listeners and me, directly? Let's say I was gonna have a kid within the next year or so, or whatever it was. The fuck should I be thinking today or tomorrow or whatever?
Be there for them. That's that in a nutshell. Is listen to them. They don't want anything more than your attention in this time. That's it's one thing that I've definitely learnt a lot.
So presence, right? Physical presence.
Presence, man. It's all about that. I never had my dad really there growing up around. Mum was always, I'm one of four boys, 5 kids, sort of thing. So, she was always there. you know, and you never get enough time, no matter how much you're there. So try to work your life around having the perfect balance for them. It's as much as we like to all think in our head that well, if I work my ass off, I'm never there for my kids. I'll appreciate it when they're 18 and they're getting a Lambo for their first car, or I'm giving them a $10 million portfolio in property. They don't give a shit about that when they're 5. They don't give a shit about that when they're 3. They definitely give a shit at when you're 18 that you were never there. That deeply affects them. You know, they don't care if you're living in a $10 billion house or driving your $100 million bloody car. They just want you. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, and it's an interesting pattern among some of the guests I have here. It's like every other guest is similar to me, saying like, my father wasn't there, my father wasn't in the picture. I don't know if I just attract mirror images of myself naturally. I don't know if
I
it's the
love it.
algorithm or if it's the matrix, but I 100% relate to that.
It's exactly what it is, man. And I'll take another spin out of this injury is having to be more present because I'm not working anymore. I've started looking at all the crypto stuff, NFTs, doing our property investing and really focusing on that. The wife has gone back into working, which she really loves, and she's doing something that she's passionate about, which is incredible. Um, Without the injury, chances are that I would have worked for the next, 30 years, my ass off, not being present for my kids as well as I should have been. Again,
Right. And maybe they would have hated you. Like, again, like, this blessing in disguise kind of thing. There's a way that people look at it and go, oh, well, that's just, hopeful or idealism. It's like, well, what are you, a cynic? Are you happy? Sound fucking miserable. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's hopeful. Yeah, it's idealism. Stop saying that like it's a dirty fucking word. That's the right way to look at things. That's how I see it.
correct, man. Like, if it is definitely something for the first 3 years of being injured, and then that it's just hate, resentment, just anger. And now I've definitely this year taken a lot of heat and a lot of going, fuck, what are the positives? What can we harvest out of this shit? The pain, everything, the trauma, it's all going to be there. Like, fuck, that shit's never going to turn off. It's always going to be there. I wake up, I don't sleep much. I am living on 2 to 4 hours a day of sleep. Have been for 4 years now. The pain, I wake up in pain every single day. I'm in pain all the time. But what positives can I pull out of today? Positives can I pull tomorrow? What value? What positives can I bring for every other day forward? And if there's someone that's going through the same shit that I'm going through, and they're not getting help, they don't know how to get help, they whatever. Can I be that person? I should be that person. Why can't I be that person?
100%, man. And I'm trying to do the same thing. It just makes me happy to hear it because, I've lived a lot of my life feeling lonely or feeling alone, or again, feeling like, my dad wasn't there because he was living in another state or had another family, and just wasn't, he wasn't totally absent, but, I did feel the feelings, right? So it's like, how do you make sure that you become the change you want to see in the world? That's one of my favorite quotes.
I love it.
If you think it's corny, fuck off. It's super true. You know
I
what I
love it,
mean?
man. I love it.
But like, yeah, you got to be the hero that was not there to save you. You got to be the dad that my dad wasn't. The dad that I imagined, the dad that I would sit there crying, imagining, wishing my dad would just become or just wake up one day and want to be because it was like possible. Like there was nothing, he was alive. He just wasn't there as much as I wanted him to be for, work reasons or whatever. Or, maybe some of it was out of his control or he did his best. But like, for me to just be the better version, whether it was realistic or not for him to do that, for me to be that version, and to do everything I possibly can. And then you're saying you want to do that same thing. So again, dude, like, and I know we've both had these moments of like darkness or despair. So I think the juxtaposition to that is this thought that you use the darkness, you use the despair to, maybe not become like a martyr or sacrifice, right? Because you're still here, you're still living, but yes, to become a role model or an example or, a figure or something to look up to, for other people that are going through the same thing. Now, I just want to, draw attention to time here. I have been trying to keep these about an hour. This
Yeah,
has
no,
been
I
a
get it, man.
powerful hour. We do have like a couple minutes left. I've been kind of playing around with the time here. I just recently got started here, so I'm still figuring some things out. But I think an hour feels good. I like the hour. But yeah, do you have any other kind of, mic drop moment type things I've been asking people, or anything you want to go out on, or a final story or something you feel like I missed?
No, I think we hit everything on the head, man. And you said that last part exactly right. Like this is going back. Shit, what was it now? Back in 2011, my dad passed away. I didn't have much to do with him, but like a year prior, I think prior to his death, I I sat there and said that to him, and it's just anger. That's the only thing that could come out of my mouth that time, and my head was anger. And I said, you are the best role model as a father that I've ever had. And he's, well, and I think he took that as a positive because he was so self self loving and so self absorbed is the nicest way that I can put it. I said, yeah, look, if I do everything opposite to what you've done, I'm going to turn out to be the best father I possibly can for my boys and the best human. And the look on his face was just like, you arsehole. But
Yeah, right. Really sticking
it's
the
true,
knife in and
man. Like,
twisting it. But as a dad who has some paternal resentment, I fucking get it, man.
it's it. It's just what it is. And and
Should have been
and I
there, you fuck.
look,
is
man,
maybe kind of the feeling.
I still take that as truth because he wasn't there. He wasn't a good person. He was a terrible person. Is the nicest way that I can put it. I've put that mantra to use every single day since becoming a father. And I'm not going to say I'm killing it, but fuck, man, I think I'm doing an okay job.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that. And I think you're doing an okay job. Obviously, I don't know the full picture, but from what I'm seeing, I think you're doing an okay job. And to anyone listening, my dad is not a horrible person, but he has caused me great pain in life. So there is that. He's a decent person. He's not a like particularly bad guy. He's just someone who's made certain decisions that not all those worked out the best for me. And I think, maybe you could have made different decisions. Maybe it wouldn't have been even that hard. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not him, but
That's
yeah.
right, man.
Anyway, that's what there is on that. But yes, so the message we're both coming to is to stand up and be that positive role model for the world. Be that light amidst the darkness. And the last thing I want to say, I've enjoyed closing out this way. I don't know if I'll keep it like I said, work in progress, but a message from our good friend, who I don't even think I told him I've been doing this yet, or if he I don't know if he listens to these. Someone should mention. But our good friend at Afakasi brand on Twitter. If you haven't heard it today, you are loved. That is the message. You are loved. The universe is made of love. And even though there's darkness, there's light and there's balance, and there's always reasons to live, and people who are similar to you, people who care. So reach out. I'm definitely one of them. Feel free to slide in the DMs, or if you need something, or you think I could help you find someone who has it, or whatever. You're rough and having a rough time. Maybe I can help. So, or maybe I can find someone who can. So reach out. Otherwise, to the listeners, thank you for coming so much tonight. Thank you for being a guest. Obviously, appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your pains and your pleasures with us. A lot of personal stuff, a lot of deep stuff. I mean, I super appreciate that. I always welcome people to talk about whatever they want. I love the deeper topics. Wouldn't be into podcasts if I love small talk, right? I love the longer talk. So I love to really get real with people, and you really were vulnerable tonight and put yourself out there. So I love you for that, and thank you so much. And hopefully, going forward, we'll have you back. But that's all we got. And again, thanks everyone for listening. You are loved. Peace out, y'all.